Okay, so if you've ever written any code, you've almost certainly run into this problem. You need to create an object, but it has a ton of different options. It starts out simple, but before you know it, it's devolved into a complete and frustrating mess. Today, we're going to dig into that exact problem and uncover a really elegant solution to clean it all up. Let's dive in.
Just look at this. Seriously, what on earth is this line of code trying to do? What does true, true, false even mean? Is that first true for including meals? Is the false for, I don't know, an airport pickup? Without digging through documentation, it's a total guessing game. This is the kind of code that makes you want to pull your hair out, and honestly, it's just a symptom of a much bigger problem.
And that problem, it actually has a name that perfectly captures the chaos: constructor explosion. It's what happens when creating a single object, like a customizable travel package, just becomes overwhelmingly complex because of all the possible options you're trying to handle. Here's how it usually goes down. At first, you just need a destination. Simple enough, right? But then you need to add a start date, so you have to create a new constructor. Then you add the number of nights, yep, another constructor. And finally, you add these Boolean flags for meals, a guide, and pickup, and boom. Your code has just exploded with all these different ways to create the same object, and each one is more confusing than the last. Now, this isn't just some, academic exercise. This leads to some really painful side effects that developers have to deal with every single day. The biggest side effect by far is that your code becomes a guessing game. Those Boolean flags we saw earlier, they have absolutely no meaning on their own. You have no idea what true or false is supposed to do without constantly stopping and looking it up, which is slow, tedious, and incredibly easy to get wrong.
So this all leads to a ton of frustrations. It's hard to remember which of the, dozen constructors you're even supposed to use. The parameters are impossible to read at a glance. And the worst part, the absolute worst, what happens when you want to add a new option like travel insurance? Well, you have to go back and potentially break everything, or add even more constructors. It's a total maintenance nightmare.
But what if there was a better way? A way to build that same complex object, but without all the chaos? Well, thankfully, there is. So let's introduce the hero of our story, the builder pattern. At its core, the builder pattern is really just a philosophy that lets you construct complex objects step by step. So instead of one single monstrous instruction, you build your object piece by piece in a clear, controlled, and most importantly, readable way. So, how does this actually work in practice? Let's pop the hood for a second and see the mechanics behind this elegant solution. The whole idea is a massive shift in thinking. We're ditching that one giant unreadable constructor call. Instead, we're going to issue a series of small, clear, and descriptive commands. And it looks a little something like this. Look at how clean that is. Each line is a self-documenting command. .toBali is perfectly clear. Staying for 7 tells you exactly what that number 7 means. And .with meals is totally unambiguous. This is code that you can actually read like a sentence. Now, you might be looking at this and wondering, wait a minute, how is it possible to chain all these method calls together like this? What's the mechanism that makes this .this, .that style even possible? The secret sauce here is something called a Fluent API. It's a really cool design style where each method, instead of returning nothing, actually returns the builder object itself. This is what lets you string them all together into one fluid, readable statement. If you've ever used popular libraries like jQuery or LINQ, you've already seen this in action. It's a super powerful technique. And the magic behind it all is surprisingly simple. It all boils down to one little line of code in each method. Return this. Every time you call a method like .toBali, it sets the destination and then just hands the builder object right back, ready for the next command in the chain. Simple, right? But it's so powerful.
So now that we get the mechanics, let's look at the payoff. This is the fun part. We're going to put the old way and the new way head to head to see the incredible transformation.
And wow, the difference is just night and day, isn't it? The old way is a cryptic line of code, totally impossible to decipher at a glance. But the builder way, it's clean, it's readable, and it's explicit. There's absolutely no question what with meals and with guide are doing. The code literally documents itself. The benefits here are just undeniable. Your code becomes dramatically more readable, it's flexible, adding a new option is as simple as adding a new .with method, and you don't break any existing code. You get rid of that maintenance nightmare of constructor explosion, and optional parameters are handled beautifully. If you don't need a guide, you just don't call the .with guide method. It's that simple. So as we start to wrap this up, what's the one thing you should really remember from all this? Well, it's all about knowing when to reach for this powerful pattern. And this gives us a pretty simple rule of thumb. Look, if your object is simple, with maybe just 2 or 3 optional parameters, a standard constructor is totally fine. No need to over-engineer it. But the second complexity starts to creep in. When you have lots of optional settings, the builder pattern becomes the clear winner. It gives you high readability and excellent scalability, right where constructors start to fall apart. So at the end of the day, the takeaway is this. The builder pattern isn't just some fancy trick. It's a truly elegant solution to a really common problem. It gives you a fluent, readable, and scalable way to create objects. It turns messy, error-prone code into something clean, clear, and just wonderful to maintain. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. The next time you find yourself tangled up in a web of constructors and Boolean flags, just take a step back and ask yourself, could this be built better? What complex object in your own projects will you build next the clean way?